MGSIPA for this, or organizing this extremely extensive 3-day online training program for this climate change, urbanization, and multi-hazard management system. I will share my screen in terms of I'll be presenting. Okay, just a sec. Is it, you all can see the screen, right? Hello?
Yes, ma'am, your screen is visible to us.
Yeah, thank you. So the topic that I'll be speaking today is on climate adaptive action plans. I'll be mainly stressing on heat action plans that is we have been working on in our organization. Before I begin with the presentation, I will get to give you a little brief about our organization, that is IRADE. IRADE has been the Center of Excellence since 2008 under the Ministry of Urban Housing and Urban Affairs. And we have been the Center of Excellence for Urban Development and Climate Change. We have been working across 32 project cities and 19 Indian states. As have already been introduced by Nikita, we have been working in various disaster resilience and smart city projects, then managing of heat stress, then dengue predictions in terms of climate change, and then air pollution. We have many sectors that the IRADE is working on, among which one of us is sustainable development, urban development, in which we are working on climate resilience, disaster resilience, health resilience, and urban infrastructure. So we are mainly deal with vulnerability assessments, vulnerability indexing, then disaster management strategies have been framed out under the disaster resilience actions, with GIS and remote sensing being our USP in developing maps. And we have also worked on the health resilience aspect of it in terms of climate adaptive action plans for heat and for air pollution action plans. So before now, I'll directly start off with the climate change and its extreme events, how this climate change has been affecting our extreme events and disasters across the globe and Southeast Asia and India in particular. If we look at the latest report of the WMO, we have seen that it states that disaster related to weather and climate change has been affecting the urban populations, like killing about nearly 115 people and causing about economic losses of 200 million US dollars on a daily basis. Now, if you trace back between this period of 1970 and 2019, according to UNFCCC, we see that all the weather and climate-related disasters account for nearly 50% of all the disasters that has been occurring globally, with recording about 47% of the deaths. And in terms of in Asia, in level of Asia, would we find that during this period, over 3,454 disaster events has been recorded, which has been influenced directly by the changing weather and ending climate. Now, if you see in India, the extreme events and how it has been affecting its economical impact and its human effect is been shown over in this slide, like the cyclones of Hudhud, which we found that in Visakhapatnam, the city was affected worst. Then we had the Jammu and Kashmir, we had this 2014 floods, which have affected over 3.6 million people out over there. And then we again have the Chennai floods in 2015. So this is a continuous process that we have been seeing in the Indian context and global, how the climate change is directly affecting and shaping the extreme events that has been occurring and the disasters and the multi-hazards. I'll directly talk about the heat wave and heat stress effect that is being seen throughout the globally due to the changing temperature and the increasing global warming scenarios. If you look at the global status, we find that the June and July of 2020 was the warmest month ever recorded, with 2020, 10 and 20 being the warmest decade ever been recorded. If we look at the IPCC reports over to the IPCC AR5 and IPCC AR6, we see that both the reports have extensively spoken on how over the past 50 years, over the past decades, how this climate change and has been affecting this increase in the frequency and hiking the number of hot days and the nights, and how they are predicted with the business as usual or the increasing use of fossil fuels, how this temperature increase will be happening. Now, if you see in the Southeast Asia region, the IPCC AR report, the recent one, it states that it projects that there will be an increase of about 4.6 degrees Celsius in the temperature in the coming decades. And India is being one of the targeted areas where the temperature rise is going to be affecting both the human lives and the amount of economic loss they're going to expect in terms of the loss in productivity and loss in the wages. So in the coming decades, India is predicted to have a significant, in this period of 1901 and 2020, IMD has said that the Indian temperature has increased over 0.62 degrees Celsius. Now, if we see what is the impact of the heat stress can be directly understood as to how many people have been the vulnerable population, mainly how they have been affected and how they have been in direct contact with the heat and how their lives have been affected, so exposed. So we see that it has been predicted by the Lancet report that in 2019, over 475 million vulnerable population were exposed directly to heat wave events globally. So on the Indian aspect of it, if you see from 2015, if we have recorded the 2020, where we had only 9 states which were directly affected by the heat waves, now it stands to across 23 states being affected. And it is, as said by the McKinsey's report, like more than 160 to 200 million people in India is projected by 2030 to be directly exposed to the heat. Now, what is heat stress? The word heat stress and heat waves have been used. Now, heat wave in our terms, what IMD has been defining it as being a relative phenomena where it's a deviation from its normal temperatures. Now, this temperature deviation has been differentiated in the various regions across the plains, the hilly regions, and the coastal region, where for the plains we find it's about 40 degrees Celsius, whereas for the hilly regions we find 30, and in the coastal areas it's around 37. The IMD has also given up criteria for that of the heat wave alerts, where we find yellow, orange, and red alerts being given out at the prior to the heat wave events, which is more than 45 or equal to 40 degrees Celsius, then 45 and over 47 has been recorded as a red alert. Now, if we see the heat stress events that has been registered or occurring over the globe, over the various parts of the world, we find that Chicago heat wave in 1995, it has caused about 739 heat-related deaths over the period of 5 days. So the second picture, what you will find over here is a mass burial, where they had recorded at least 41 people were buried at a mass grave who were affected directly through the heat waves. Then in 2003, we found the European heat wave where more than 70,000 people were killed. Then we have in India, we had the Ahmedabad 2010, the heat wave, which caused more than 1,344 additional deaths during the month of May. Then the Moscow Russian waves, where we have which killed about over 55,000 people. Then in Pakistan, we found in 2015 and 18 how the heat wave has been affecting, and over a small period of time, like 3 days or 5 days, over 700 people have been killed or been affected by the heat wave. So heat wave does not directly only affect the human lives, it's also the ecosystem and the other biodiversities that have been affected by the heat waves. So like in 2021, this year, what we found in Canada, almost 1 billion sea creatures were killed. And then in Spain, the recent news, what we found that it was like 4.5 tons of dead fish were pulled out from the European largest seawater lagoons. Then nobody can forget about this light in Canada, where we normally find in these villages, in these areas of Canada, the maximum temperature to reach about 24 degrees Celsius in June, and it hit about 50 degrees Celsius, causing a wildfire. And then we have the Californian wildfire, which was caused due to the heat waves, and it had caused a threat to more than 17,000 structures, and nearly 350 people were left homeless. Now, what is climate? So this, what we have found right now, what we saw in the earlier slides is like how this climate change has been affecting the heat waves and how it has been causing a whole lot of stir in the types of the human vulnerability is not only human, but also the ecosystem that has been affected. So there is a need for how to develop a climate adaptive heat action plans at a city level. So what is mainly before we jump into what is a climate adaptive, we need to know what is a heat action plan, what is it mainly caters into. Heat action plan mainly caters to the critical adaptation measures. It mainly lists down the critical adaptation measures to manage a growing heat stress within a city. It can be a city level, it can be a district level, it can be a country, and a whole lot of state level. Now, the framework, it provides a framework as to how the implementation and coordination between the various stakeholders can be managed, and it produces these features of the early warning systems, which can be coordination, which can relate to a coordination between the emergency response systems and the health institutions and authorities. Now, why do we need a climate adaptive action plan is, first of all, we need to reduce the number of deaths. It need to prevent the vulnerable population being directly affected by that of the heat waves. India needs to reduce the illness. Illness means in regards to how people have been directly affected. What are the symptoms of this heat wave, like heat cramps? Then we have heat strokes, and which are very fatal indeed. Then we need to make the cities resilient. It needs in resilient structures and resilient infrastructure that needs to be catered upon in developing a climate adaptive action plan. And then we need to prepare our health centers and hospitals, which need to cater to this increasing need for the people who need to be attended during the heat stress periods. And we need to also reduce the economic and labor productivity loss due to the heat stress. Now, if we try to relate this heat stress and the developing the climate adaptive action plans with the SDG goals, we find the SDG goals 13, 11, 9, and 13, which all indirectly or directly links to that of strengthening of city resilience in terms of adaptive capacity and integrating the climate change measures into the national policies. These are need to be catered so that the city can develop a resilient infrastructure and can develop a human settlements that is more adapting and more understanding as to how they can deal with the upcoming heat stresses. Now, if you see in the Indian context, we find that India is projected to see a 10% increase in the number of deaths due to climate change. Here, if we see from 2015 to 2019, we see how the number of heat stress days and the number of states across India has been affected. So already I have told that how the number of days has been increasing from mere 7 days to over 32 heat stress days, and how number of states have been affected over 9 to 23. Now, if you see the mortality rate in terms of how the heat related mortality, we find that this is basically recorded. We never know how much they are directly affected or how many have been registered. So in terms of recorded death, the number of deaths has been the highest in 2015 with about 2040, but it has reduced significantly over the years and reached about 4 in 2020. So we can say that the number of action plans that have been adopted by the Indian cities are being acting to a point where the number of death or mortality has been reducing. But we also need to be, when we see into the action plans, existing action plans, we see that this action plans needs to be more climate sensitive framework for implementation. And they may not be related to only to a city, but needs to be more concentrated in terms of ward level, how each wards or each small sections of the block levels, how the city of a city can be affected and can be dealt with for the extreme heat. So, and one of the main points of where we can discuss on this climate adaptive action plans is how the population who are at the highest risk can be given alerts, a prior alert, so that they can take prior actions to not venture into the in the afternoons into the heat, to how to protect themselves. And it can be gender sensitive also. So how the women and the children and the elderly women people who are directly in the higher impact of the heat stress can be directly protect themselves from the heat stress. I'll be talking in brief of the project that we have been doing with IDRC, that is the IDRC Canada. We have been working in close collaboration with IIPH, Gandhinagar and Bhubaneswar, and with the municipal corporations of Rajkot, Bhubaneswar and Delhi to develop the heat stress action plan, climate adaptive action plans for the cities. This action plan is mainly, this whole project and the action plans were mainly developed to improve the management of heat stress risks in India, and to develop gender sensitive, specially differentiated, means ward-wise, heat stress action plans. So the objective of this project was to mainly specially understand and identify the vulnerable groups, and to understand what are the impacts of the extreme heat had on their health and their work productivity and their livelihood, and to provide an appropriate, cost-effective, affordable climate adaptive measures. This is the basic framework that is being developed to develop a climate adaptive action plan. So we see normally when we start off with any city, we need to understand how the city's urbanization, urban socioeconomical, socio-demographic urbanization status there, how the heat stress has been affecting the city over the historical overview, how much people have been affected by the heat stress, by heat-related mortality and morbidity data. Then we go on to the climatological variances. We need to understand during the in terms of how the temperature has been changing over the past decades, and how the maximum temperature, minimum temperature of the city has been changing during the summer periods. Then we have thermal hotspot mappings, where we actually map in the areas which are highly thermal, there are hotspots where the temperature increases or remains higher at above 40 or 42 degrees Celsius during the summers. Then we have mapping of the vulnerable section of society, the areas and the population. Then we have heat stress impact assessment in terms of their health, their livelihood and their productivity. Then we do a stakeholder mapping as to which are the people, which are the organizations, which are the institutions which are directly linked together in providing a much better understanding of this heat stress, and how these people can help the vulnerable groups and the people in terms of community participation, how they can be helpful. Then we have listed down some of the adaptation and mitigation strategies, and how this has been disseminated and monitoring system has been developed. So if you look in the city of Rajkot, it is one, I'll be speaking of Rajkot particularly. So Rajkot city is the 4th largest city in the Gujarat and 35th largest agglomeration. It is in India, and it is one of the fastest growing city. So it has a population of around 1.39 lakh right now, according to 2011 census, but the population has increased in the recent times. And you see how the growth of the city has been also been increasing. Its areas also has changed from mere 23 wards. Now it's been agglomerated into 18 wards, and it has slum population as about 145. So if you look into the historical overview of the heat wave events in the city, we see how from 1980s till 2000, how the number of heat wave days have increased from mere 2 days to 34 days. From the climatological point of view, we see that the cities, we have actually traced down and calculated how the temperature, the maximum and the minimum temperature of the city has been changing over the past 14 years or a decade, in terms of during this summer seasons. So we have seen that the April month has been recording a higher temperature over all the months, and there is a deviation in the maximum from the climatological mean in the months of April, followed by March and June. Similarly, if we look into minimum temperature, we find again there's a deviation from the maximum temperature from this for the month of March. Then March and April is seen as both as increasing in both the minimum temperature. Then we go into the hotspot thermal hotspot mapping of the cities. Here we have used Landsat images, Landsat 8 images to understand how the temperature has been, the land surface temperature has been predicted, has been seen or been recorded across the city. So this is the main procedure that we have been followed. This is the methodology that has been followed to understand and to record, map the thermal hotspot in the cities. So we have taken the areas which is more or equal to 42 degrees Celsius. So we find over here the peripheral regions of the city has been recording the highest temperatures during the May. So, and we have this is normally actually taking the temperature of LST, it's a land surface temperature as a reflectant. But we have also tried to do a ambient air temperature measurement of the hotspots by using a hygrometer. So according to the data that we have received, we had spotted about this 10 to 11 spaces within the city which records higher temperature, and we had organized extensive household surveys, random stratified sampling within the cities to understand how this heat affected areas, the heat hotspots, how the vulnerable populations within this particular areas have been affected by the heat stress. We have also done a particular future projections for the city. So here in the left-hand side, you will find that the average monthly temperature for May, according to that, we see about 8 wards within the city which records over 40 to 42 degrees Celsius temperature during the month of May, and only 1 ward with 44 to 46 degrees. But if we do a future projection of 3-degree rise or scenario in the coming decades and all, we'll find over 5 wards, which was once only 1 ward. It could reach about 5 wards, which is recording over 11 to 5 wards, which is recording above the 44 degree Celsius temperature. Now, vulnerability mapping and assessment. We need to understand, for developing any climate adaptive action plan, we need to understand which are the people we are catering to. It is so we do a vulnerability mapping and assessment. So vulnerable areas within a city mainly include slum areas, scattered settlements, which have minimal access to water, sanitations. And then we have the industrial belts, which remain hotter and compared to the other parts of the city. And the vulnerable groups mainly include the economically weaker sections, then the elderlies, the women and the children, then the people who have chronic diseases, and the working individuals, especially who have been directly affected by the heat, the construction workers, the factory workers, transportations, laborers, and vendors, the street vendors. So these are some of the 10 parameters that we had included in our analysis to understand how this heat stress have been influencing or affecting the livelihood of the people in terms of sanitation, water, electricity, health, access to health infrastructures, what is the distance from their home, their transportation, mode of transportation. The housing structure also plays an important role in keeping a particular household warmer or cooler during the summer seasons. And also the awareness, how much the people are aware of what is the heat stress and whom to contact or which are the nearby health stations or health centers where they can go and treat themselves during heat stress period. So according to this 9 sectors that we had analyzed, we had got a cumulative ward level vulnerability assessment where we found that the wards 1, 11, 10, 13, so mainly the peripheral and the southern part of the city, which have been highly vulnerable to the impact of heat stress. Now the heat stress impact in terms of what I've already spoken earlier in terms of your loss of wage and productivity and health, we find the casual laborers within the city have been highly affected by that of the high heat days. Majority of the males who have been working in the factories or in the construction working areas have been highly affected. And then we have almost 64 responses have common issues of health, because this is a norm. People out over there normally expect that this is what is going to happen during the heat stress, like a heat cramps or headaches. So they either take a rest in or take a day off. They do not approach any healthcare centers to treat them. So this is where the city of Rajkot falls short of its awareness in terms of how they need to be treated during a health heat stress period, and how they can be treating this type of health issues during this particular period of time. Now, early warning system, if you see the existing early warning system, what we have in Indian context is that how the IMD has been developing this seasonal outlooks, extended range forecasts, the warning mechanism that is being carried out. So for Rajkot, we get a 7 days earlier forecast as to what the temperature would be. So this can be used by the local authorities like the Rajkot Municipal Corporations and the RUDA to develop early warning systems through SMSs, WhatsApps, or by radios to alert people to take more care during this period of time, or not to venture outside during this period of time. So in terms of the what work we have carried out in the city of Rajkot, and so they have taken into a policy intervention into this, and tried to lower down the threshold, which was earlier into 41 degrees Celsius, where the municipal corporation issued an alert into the citizens, among citizens, that will be a heat alert. So according to our study and all, they have reduced the temperature threshold to 40.5 degrees Celsius. Now, with this stakeholder mapping, we need to develop for the capacity building of the various institution and organization during this period. Here we have organized medical practitioners capacity building, where we are sensitized over 50 medical facilitators across the city to understand what is the impact of the heat stress and the illness related to it, and how they can be responsive during this period. We have also held this interactive stakeholders workshops in the Rajkot municipal corporations and the other professionals across the city and the stakeholders. Now, mitigation adaptation strategies that we can develop or we have listed down for this action plan can be a short term and medium term and long term. So in terms of, if you look into the short term and the medium term, we can see that through awareness campaigns like LED TVs, where there can be hoardings and posters, distribution of pamphlets that can be introduced within the city levels prior to the heat seasons, like around in the April month and all, so that people are more aware how to take care of them. So during the heat stress period, then they can organize workshops for the occupationally exposed, like the traffic police, the hawkers during this period. Then the medical preparedness, like stocking of the ORS, cool packs, and the medical camps across the city. Then we have other mitigation options like coloring of the roofs of a roof painting into the white colors. Then we have distribution of the cool jackets of the to the duty traffic polices. Then water tank campaigns, because in Rajkot city, what we had found is a dearth of water during this heat stress periods. So it is very important that the cities are being provided with proper facilities for potable water, which they can store, because water storage is a big problem into the cities which are like Rajkot over there. Then for short term also, we can see the early warnings and communication. What I've already told, like for the 7 days early warning systems, we can see that over through SMSs or WhatsApps, people can be made aware of the change of the heat stress period, and then we can have monitoring and analysis of the various hospitals and how they keep the records of the people who are being admitted into the cities, into their hospitals for the heat stress. For the long-term measures, we mainly see as how the urban landscape and how the urban cities can be planned, or can be the building bylaws can be changed or made up in terms of suiting themselves more to a resilient and heat resilient infrastructure, like passive shading, and then urban ventilation pathways, what you see in the figure right over here. Then we can learn from our vernacular architecture, how the building orientation can be made, how the ventilation within this within a building, within a proper household can be increased, how the circulation of the air can be increased to reduce the inner house temperature and bring about the thermal cooling within it. In terms of dissemination and monitoring, we see across the cities, like what I've already told, that how the mortality, it can be recorded or monitored by each of the hospitals or the healthcare centers is to by keeping a track of number of people who have been admitted with these cases like heat cramps or heat exhaustions. So this will be a record which can be provided to the ULB, so that they can be updated as to how many people are being affected by heat stress. Then we have this heat stress advisories, which can be put up in everywhere across the cities, where people are being more aware of what are the impact and how they can deal with the preventive measures, how they can deal with the heat stress. We have also got out into in the local language in Gujarati as how the heat stress advisory. So this is how this city has been putting up with this outreach activities. Like they are over the cities, there are 15 or more hoardings that have been put up across the summer seasons. Then we have LED-led screens, which provide information as to how to keep ourselves hydrated, how to protect the children during this period of time. Then we have ORS points and buttermilk that is being provided during this period, during the heat stress period, actually. Then we had all these orientation meetings with various doctors and civil hospitals who will be catering to this heat stressed individuals during the heat stress period. So at the end, I like to say that in terms of what IRADE has come up with is to raise the awareness of the medical stakeholder citizens. We have developed this medical stakeholder training module, which gives into understanding how these individuals, the health practitioners, can be more equipped in how helping this heat-stressed patients and individuals during this period of time. We have also developed the heat stress action plans, that is climate action plans for the city of Rajkot, Bhubaneswar, and Delhi. And that will be it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Momita Shah, for such a wonderful presentation. May I now please request the participants, if they are with any of the questions, they can post in the chat box. Ma'am, if you could also check your chat box if any questions directly.
Sure.
I can see one question from one of the participants. The question is, would you please explain dynamic climate intelligence term?
I didn't get the question. Where is it? What is the question again? Can you repeat?
Could you please explain dynamic climate intelligence term?
See, dynamic climate intelligence system is that the climate system has been changing. So dynamics in terms of how the climate is being changing, it will not be the static all over. We need to understand as to how the climate, like what I've explained earlier, like how the number of heat stress days has been changing over the decades. So one needs to understand how the dynamics of this is playing. It is not only the high temperature that is being directly affecting a climate change or the heat stress within a city. It's also the minimum temperature and the maximum temperature. Along with it, we need to understand also that I've not stressed about over here in this presentation is the relative humidity. Relative humidity is also directly affecting how the cities, how the climate will directly affect, and how the heat stress will be affecting a particular heat stress period of time. So in the Rajkot city or in the other cities, whatever we had recorded, we have seen that the relative humidity is also being changing and the cities are becoming more drier during this period of time. So in that terms of it, the high increasing temperature and the minimum and the reducing humidity in the air will lead into more heat stress. So we need to understand how the dynamics of this climate is being changing, and accordingly set up a system and a system in terms of how the actions can be developed and measures can be developed in terms of coping with this particular changing climatic actions.
Thank you, madam. The next question we have is by Dr. Prabhuth sir. The question is, what about the financing of programs run by your organization?
Financing right now, I will be telling that we have been doing this program funded by IDRC. We have been supported by IDRC Canada for carrying out this particular this project. So we are mainly in terms of developing the heat action plans. After the heat action plans have been developed, have been shared with our particular partners and our city level collaborators, that is the RMC, Rajkot Municipal Corporation, or the municipal corporations, and Bhubaneswar, we are also working with the OSDMA, that is the Disaster Management Authority over there. So we'll be taking it forward with them as to how they will be implementing these action plans with the citizens and how they can be put it into a wider perspective and how they will be used over
there. Thank you, Ms. Mamta. The next question we have is by Mr. Rambaran. The question is, should every smart city must have heat action plan?
Yes, the smart cities need to have a smart, this heat action plan is like, we need to incorporate. It is there. If I've shown you the slides on terms of the SDGs, we see that how the cities have been striving towards developing more resilient. So resilient cities need not be only in terms of how it can be waterproofed in terms of flooding and all. So it needs also to be planned out how the cities can be developing a heat stress resilient infrastructures. So like shelters during the heat stress periods, how temporary shelters can be built up, which are the spaces that will be available. Infrastructure in terms of the blue-green. If you look into the master plan of Delhi, they have been stressing about blue-green infrastructures. Blue-green infrastructures is like developing blue-green buildings, or blue in terms of investing into number of water bodies, putting up fountains or small. So the smart cities need to look into these aspects also. There's not only just developing infrastructure and water system.
Thank you, ma'am. The next question we have is by Sarabjot Singh. The question is, what are urban heat islands?
See, urban heat islands is mainly when we see in an urban area. Urban area has been surrounded by a peripheral region of the suburban regions or the rural urban, where this is the transition area. Now, when we move from the suburban areas into an urban area, we find that temperature suddenly, the temperature normally increases. It is because of the concrete jungle that we have been building up over here. We have been reducing number of trees, the green-blue structures have been reducing in a great number. So it is what we see when we record the temperature, the Landsat imageries or whatever you can use in terms of, we find a sharp increase into the amount of temperature in the central part or the city levels. So this is the urban heat island. The heat islands are the cities where the temperatures is higher in terms of when compared to the other peripheral regions. So when we do a hotspot mapping, we mainly look into the cities. It is within a city, we find what are the hotspots. But if we take into a larger aspect of the area, we'll find the urban heat islands or the UHIs, urban heat islands within the cities are these urban hotspots.
Thank you, Ms. Mamta Shah. These were all the questions which were directed to me. I hope there are no further questions which have been directed to you.
No, I do not have any questions right now.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am, once again for being with us and for such a wonderful session and for discussing the Rajkot case study with us. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
Now, coming on to the last session of our training program, we have Dr. Prabhuth Kumar Mishra to elucidate on community perspective of climate change in the Himalayas. Dr. Prabhuth is presently working as an assistant professor geography at Shivaji College, University of Delhi, with more than 10 years of experience in teaching and research with a multidisciplinary background. Dr. Mishra is adept to manage large development projects within time frame individually or in association of a team as per as is where is basis. Dr. Prabhu does research in natural resource management, watershed management, mountain studies, and livelihood related issues. His top publications have been in journals, national and international, repute, including research papers, chapters in scientific journals, books, and conference proceedings. He's also serving as a member of editorial board and review committee of many international journals. We are privileged to have you, Dr. Prabhu, with us. Very warm welcome to you, sir. And now please request you to kindly share your vast knowledge and experience with us all. Dr. Prabhu, over to you.
Thank you, Ms. Nikita. Thank you for the invitation and nice words. And hope I am audible, clear and audible to all of you.
Yes, sir, you're very audible.
Okay. So, first of all, thank you, the organizers, for giving me the opportunity to share the platform. And I thank my fellow speaker, Ms. Momita, who has given an excellent presentation on the issues relating to climate change and climate related issues of urban areas. And I was really impressed that on what level they are collecting data and on all the parameters they are calculating it for the welfare of the society, for the welfare of the ecosystems. So she focused mainly on the urban area, whereas I will take my audience to rural areas. Let's see what kind of changes, what kind of impact is being felt by the rural communities in the Himalayas. So my study is a little different from the urban areas because see, climate change is an issue which is felt throughout the world. Either it's urban ecosystem, either it's rural ecosystem. It has been felt on developed nations, developing nations, rich, poor. It has been observed. Everyone is observing the impact of climate change. So let's see what I have to present. Let me share my presentation. Okay, hope my presentation is visible.
Yes, sir, your presentation is visible. You may continue.
So basically, I will be dealing with this community perception of climate change in Sikkim Himalaya. And this work has been carried out during 2017 and 18, and it has been funded by Indian Council of Social Science Research, New Delhi. So first, this is the presentation framework. I will be dealing with the small introduction, then objective, then methodology, key issues which we have identified in the study area, then key effects, and what kind of action and adaptation strategies can be adopted in that particular study area. And then finally, we can conclude. So starting with this climate change, a lot has been said about climate change, and everybody is well aware about this, the concept of climate change. Climate change has become a buzzword everywhere, wherever you go, in all the reports, even we teach at graduate level and postgraduate level, each and every chapter is incomplete without integrating this concept of climate change, because it has affected our life, our ecosystem, our whole world in such a way that it has become a very, very common, and even the layman, even the common man has also started realizing the impact of climate change. So from Paris Convention and from this 1984, when this World Commission on Environment and Development came into existence, when this concept of sustainable development came, after that, this word has gained momentum, and now see, right from Millennium Development Goals to Sustainable Development Goals, in almost all the goals we are talking about climate change and how it is impacting our environment and as well as the community. So see, past week, since past 1 month, there is certain developments regarding this climate change has been observed. See, first, COP16, Conference of Party 26, is going to be held in Glasgow, UK next year, right? And all the countries, all the signatory countries, we have around 191 signatory countries. They have agreed that they will cut their emission and all. Then they will work for the greenhouse gas emission. And it has been realized that very few countries have worked as per the defined goal, and most of the countries have failed to target their achievement. Whatever they have said that they are going to cut their emissions, they are going to start greening the blue, means they are going to launch their afforestation programs and capacity building programs, but have failed. So we can say that most of the countries and most of the plan and policies which have already there to guide us, to motivate us, and to from which we can take motivation and which are binding on us, we have failed to do that. And it's not only the developing countries, even the developed countries like global south and global north both have failed to fulfill the requirements. And I further say that UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres reminding us that we must act now to prevent further irreversible damage. This damage is irreparable. The damage which are doing to our environment and the way climate is changing, it is irreversible. We are not going to get it back. And it is not too late, it's too late. Now we have to think about clear and credible long-term strategies. He has clearly demarcated, see, the way we are approaching, the way the nations are treating with this climate change is not good enough to get sound results. And that has been seen in our previous presentation also, that how the people of Rajkot and many other cities are suffering from the heat waves. Some parts of the country or some cities are suffering from the urban flooding, some from different problems. So, and it is not the case of Indian cities. Either it's global south, either it's global north, all the cities, not even cities, even the rural areas are also facing the similar problems. Heat wave problems is not only the problem of urban area, even the rural area is also facing the same problems. But urban areas are blessed that they are getting fundings, and international organizations are taking interest and they are doing some research. But rural areas, somehow they are excluded from the main streamline research. So that is also one of the concern. And we can see that the clean water and fertile land is shrinking. Throughout the world, we can see that the forest area is shrinking. And I will give you one example that in Amazon rainforest, we have lost around 800 square kilometers of area in 1 year. Since 2020, July to July 2021, we have lost an area of Puerto Rico in the Amazon rainforest. And that has been recorded by Brazil Space Agency. And this recent report says that what we are doing. Traditionally, we said that it was in the phrase that Amazon rainforests are the lungs of the world. They absorb carbon dioxide and other gases and they release oxygen. But now we cannot say that Amazon rainforest is the lungs. So we have to revisit our policies, and we have to revisit what we are doing, and the policies which are made at global level and the implementation which is the part of local level, there is some gap which has to be filled. So in this respect, I want to say about the UN Food System Summit says that if similar condition or similar situation prevails, we are in coming decades, around 2050, 60, we will not be able to feed our population. The population will be too much, and the arable land, the fertility of the soil, the productivity of the soil will not be enough to feed the world population. So they are warning that we have to consume wisely. We have to be very particular about our food system, food habits, vegetarian, non-vegetarian. So that has to be there. And even high-level dialogue on energy. Energy is one issue which is very important, because majority of our energy supply is coming from the fossil fuels, petroleums, or we can say conventional sources of energy. But we have to focus on the renewable energy sources, and we have to be dependent on solar panels, wind energy, thermal energy, and other sources which are uh, renewable. And we have to adopt, and all the countries, not only the developed nations, have moved uh, uh, significantly. Now they are investing more money in the clean energy. But when we talk about the developing country and least developing countries, as the finance is very poor, as we don't have the enough resources, we are not able to invest much in this clean energy. So developed countries has to extend their support, economic support, financing support in even least developing countries also, so that they can start their this clean energy program. So that is also there. And here is some data. In last presentation also we have seen the data. Till date we were talking about 1.5 degree mark, that we have to take care. We should not increase our temperature, global temperature, more than 1.5 degree. But now new projections are coming. Now by the end of century, there is an expectation that this figure will be 2.7 degree. So see where we are heading. And at the same time, we are also giving the slogan that we have to go for net zero. We have to stop this climate change. We have to stop this this increase of temperature, and we have to take certain strategies which can stop our greenhouse gas emission and all. But at the same time, we are not in a position to do that. That policy has to be revisited, that where there is a gap. We have lots of policies. Since 1984, we have lots of policies. Kyoto Protocol, Copenhagen Protocol, then we got 15 years Millennium Development Goals. We have failed to reach Millennium Development Goals. Then we have started this Sustainable Development Goals. We have still 5 years with us. We can work hard. All the signatory countries can work hard and they can come out with good results. But still, we have to identify the gaps. Where there is a gap. What is there any fault in policy level or at implementation level? Why the various countries are not able to implement that plan, or we don't want to compromise with our developmental work. So our plans and policies has to be revisited, and it should be formulated in such a way that each and everyone we should take each and everyone, and this plan should focus on the local level, how we can empower the local communities, local people, so that they can also take part and they can be the witness of this success. So this is the introduction part. And coming to my study, I'm going to discuss my study at watershed level. And as you know that mountains are one of the most vulnerable ecosystem, and it has been affected widely throughout the world. Glaciers are melting, and we have lots of drivers which are acting at a very faster rate. We have deforestation problem, we have wildfire problems, we have land degradation problem, then landslide problems. Lots of problems are there, and the communities who are residing in the mountainous area, and they are more or less they are highly dependent on their natural resource system, natural resource base. So how they are make a living in this such kind of changing environment, that has been recorded. through this study, which I'm going to show you. So the objective of my study is to record the community's perception of climate change with respect to agriculture, temperature and rainfall, soil and water resources, and vanishing springs. And methodology and data sources, both primary and secondary data sources have been collected. And in primary data sources, we have gone for the field survey, group discussions, interviews with officials, key informant interviews, observation photographs. And for secondary data, we have taken district census handbook and reports, various reports from government offices. And interpretation is done with the help of geospatial techniques. ArcGIS we have used, and we have also used SPSS software for data processing. You can see the flow chart of this my study. I have selected a watershed which have been divided into 3 distinct ecological zones, high, mid, and low. And from each ecological zones, we have identified 3 villages. And from 3 villages, we have collected data. And later on, we have also tried to see that is there any significant variation in the impact of climate change in high, mid, and low ecological zone with the help of statistical analysis. ANOVA, we have tested ANOVA also. So this is the data source and methodology, and this is the characteristics of the respondents. So we have taken 3. We have performed questionnaire survey for 300 respondents, 100 in each ecological zone. So you can see this is the characteristics of the respondents. I'm not going to elaborate each and every parameter. And see, you can see this is the study watershed. It is located in the east district of Sikkim. And you can see the latitude and longitude, the geometrical coordination, and it's an agrarian and rain-fed watershed. Means irrigation facilities are there, but not fully developed. Majority of this irrigation needs are fulfilled by the rainfall only, right? So this is the ecological zones. You can see there are 3 distinct ecological zones, and I have also showed the surveyed village where we have gone and collected data, and we have recorded the impact of climate change on community and how community has realized that climate is changing. So in the yellow, you can see the agriculture land. So these are the areas which are inhabited by the farmers and communities. And you can see these 3 distinct ecological zones. Now, see, there are lots of watersheds. Why I have chosen this watershed? Why not other watersheds? So the reason being selecting this watershed is manifold. Many regions are there. See, you can see this is a typical rural area, and it covers approximately 250 square kilometer, 254 square kilometer of area, and this good profile of verticality is there. The minimum we can start from 311 meter to 4,112 meter. All the ethnic groups, Bhutia, Lepcha, Nepali, Limbu, all the groups and ethnic groups are represented finely in this watershed. And this elevational zone provides human habitation of the Eastern Himalayas. So whatever we are doing, we can replicate it for the other same regions in the Eastern Himalaya also. All the land use of Sikkim Himalayas are found. Even this study area has the alpine land use also. You can also get the snow-fed area. All the cash crops, whether it's large cardamom, ginger, orange, and potato, all the common agriculture practices are present here. And we have almost all the varieties of pulses, spices, fruit, wild edible plants are available in this watershed. And this is the, again, this is the parameters and description. The temperature ranges from 0 to 26 degrees Celsius. Mean annual rainfall is 3,204 millimeter. And the population, if we take out the total population of Gangtok, which is the capital of Sikkim, the total population of the rural area is around 11,000 as per the last census. Sex ratio is 962. And the total settlement is 44. So this is the characteristics of our watershed. Now see, if I see the resource base of the watershed, so this watershed is endowed with, gifted with lots of resources like land resource, water resource, forest resources, and people of this watershed are very nicely conserving their resources, whether it's land resource or water resources, forest resources. So you can see this is the land use map of the watershed. Majority of the area is around more than 60% area falls under forest, dense forest, and open forest. You can see the red mark, and these are the settlement areas, whereas the patches of agriculture you can see in the lower ecological zone, we have greater area under agriculture, whereas in the upper zones or upper catchment, agriculture concentration is less. So this is the 2017 land use map of the study area. And if I say this 87% of the population of this area is engaged in agricultural and allied activities, that is agriculture, horticulture, agroforestry, floriculture, and animal husbandry. So if this agriculture, horticulture, and these activities are going to be affected with the impact of climate change, they are going to affect the livelihood of this rural people and indigenous communities. So with this respect, we have tried to identify that what kind of impact is being felt on their cropping pattern, their agriculture, like that. So water resources, we can see surface water resource is there in terms of rivers, Khola, Kholcha, and natural spring. That is very important. That is one of the key indicator of climate change. We have identified around 44 springs in this watershed, and now only 14 are providing water. Rest of the springs have dried up. Either there is no discharge from that springs. So water resources are under stress, and that is because somehow you can relate it that because of the climate change, such situation is emerging. So now the key impact, lots of impact has been identified, but here in this presentation, I'm focusing with this 4 parameters, that is agriculture, temperature and rainfall, soil and water resources, and vanishing springs. Apart from these indicators, we have also seen that impact of climate change on forest resources, impact of climate change on medicinal plants. So lots of indicators are there, but these are the 4 major indicators which we have identified during our studies. So you can see this climate perception of local communities, like increase in temperature as compared to 10 years before. Means around 90% of the respondents, 90% of the indigenous communities are in favor that there is an increase in temperature, and similar observation has been recorded in other studies also. At the same time, we have validated this data with IMD data, Indian Meteorological Department data, and this data is true. So whatever they are observing, we cannot negate that their observation is they have failed to observe the right manner. But IMD and scientific data and scientific studies also validating their observation. Second, we can see that decrease in rainfall as compared to 10 years before. There's a decrease in rainfall, especially in the winters, and after monsoon season, there is almost no rainfall in the winter seasons. Earlier, there used to be a few rainfall events, but now there is no rainfall events. And it has been worth mentioning that earlier there used to be 7 rainfall events. They have named it in their traditional language that there were 7 rainfall events, but now they are missing 1 or 2. They are missing during the monsoon season. They are missing 1, 2, sometimes 3 rainfall events they are missing. So that is that has been experienced by the local communities. Now next is around 90% are saying that winter is warmer. Earlier winter was more chilling. So that is also one indicator. Mosquitoes observed in winter. Earlier there was no mosquitoes. Now you can see everywhere in Himalayan region. You can see that mosquitoes have created menace. Now, spring, I have already said that springs are drying, and either they are dying, either they are giving less water than the earlier times, right? And the last, you can see that less crop yields as compared to 10 years before. Now the crop productivity is also declining and the overall production is declining. So this we have worked on. This is not primarily because of the climate change. There are some other factors, labor shortage and some other factors also there. But yes, the impact is there. You can see the community perception of climate change on different agrodiversity. So high impact is there on ginger, drinking water sources, lard, cardamom, rice, maize, wheat, and oil seeds. Whereas this fruit crops, tuber crops, pulses, and beans have medium climate change impact, and others have low and negligible. Food grass fodder for animals have the negligible impact. So we can see that how they have perceived on, and they have clearly categorized, the communities have clearly categorized that this crop has more impact and this crop has less impact. So during the field studies, we have validated this data, and you can see this this is based on our questionnaire survey. We have done this questionnaire survey on temperature and rainfall. Majority of the people are saying that temperature has increased and rainfall has decreased. And many are there who have given that they are not aware about this term climate change. They have not given any response, that we have also recorded. Soil and water resources. See, soil is something which is treated as the parent rock material, which is the parent material for agriculture production. And as I have already said, that if there's an incident of soil terrace failure, overland flow, and soil loss, there are areas we have identified that runoff is very high because of the landslide, because of the other regions, because of some deforestation process. This runoff is very high, and because of the runoff, this parent soil is getting washed out. And because of this soil erosion, farmers are not able to cultivate their land. And the cultivable land, the arable area is very less. And there is a pressure of population. The population is also increasing. So the land-man ratio, we can say, is increasing. And water resources, which I have already discussed, that there is a less availability of water resources. If we leave this monsoon season, during monsoon season, we have enough water resources, but that water is not being used for cultivable portion except the paddy. And rest of the year, there is a lack of irrigation facilities. There is a lack of soil moisture availability. So that has been recorded by, responded by the communities of the watershed. Vanishing springs. Springs are locally known as Mohan, Kuan, and Dhara, and it has been managed in a community manner. They treat this springs as a sacred place. They plant trees, and that trees is also selected very wisely. That which trees are not very water exhaustive trees. So with their traditional wisdom, they try to identify trees, and they keep this springs in a very sacred place. They keep this. You cannot you can take water, but you cannot take bath there, right? Such kind of community practices are there, and these springs are nearly providing the water security for around 50% of the rural household. But this percentage is now getting disturbed, and now government is planning to provide the pipeline facility water to each and every village, which is practically not possible and not feasible because lots of landslide takes place, and the terrain is not in favor of providing water security through a mechanized pipeline. So such incidences have been reported by the communities of Sikkim Himalaya, and now they are worried. Now they are worried that in future how they are going to fulfill their water needs. If the springs are not going to revive, it will be difficult for them to get water. And even if we take into consideration the women participation, they have to go for long distances to fetch water. So it will further increase the vulnerability of women households. So it has to be seen in that perspective also. If I talk about the key actions or adaptive mitigation measures, so first of all, I want to say that there is a lack of climate change information. Communities are not aware about this climate. They lack this information. Though lots of provisions have been made to make them aware, but in rural areas, in interiors of the villages, you can hardly find any information on climate change. And this hydrometeorological monitoring station, see, Sikkim is such a not big state, but we have only one or two hydrometeorological stations, only two weather stations of IMD is there. So if I have to get the data for West Sikkim, I have to rely on the data of East Sikkim because the weather station is located in East Sikkim only. So more weather stations and IMD meteorological stations have to be installed for further monitoring and assessment of the climatic conditions in Sikkim Himalaya. And apart from that, early warning system has to be operated in much influential manner, because the communities has reported that they are not aware about the early warning system or the heavy rainfall. Very seldom they get information about the heavy downpour and all. So there should be some system through which they can get the proper and early information about any calamity or any rainfall, what we can say, any disaster situation. And then introduction of scientific knowledge on adaptation measures and land use planning and infrastructure design. See, earlier when I used to visit 20 years back, when I used to visit, you get a different kind of landscape in Himalayas, right? The construction of houses, the roads, and the facilities which were available there. Now see, you hardly get differentiated. The buildings which you are getting in Delhi, similar buildings you can identify even in the interiors of the villages, right? In the interiors of Himalaya, you can trace such kind of villages, buildings over there. So what we have to say, we have to rely on our traditional knowledge system. We have to follow the our traditional customs, our traditional house making practices, because there's a high rainfall. Though rainfall is decreasing, but at the same time we have to develop such an infrastructure, such a housing pattern, such roads that don't affect the overall quality of environment of the Himalayas or the mountain ecosystem. See, you go there, you will find that there's a widening of road is going on. That is needed for security reasons in some regions, for tourism development, but not everywhere. But now with this Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana, each and every village is now getting connected with the road, and that leads to environmental problem. There is a disturbance of the habitat, local habitat. So it has to be considered in a significant manner. And then introduction of crop forecasting system development and application of sustainable agricultural technologies. So though they have a very good traditional ecological knowledge, indigenous ecological knowledge on farming, and they are cultivating their lands in centuries, and they are passing their information from one generation to another generation in a very effective manner. But the recent challenges, the recent climate change in climate change scenario, only this traditional knowledge system is not enough. It has to be substantiated by the scientific knowledge. We have to go with the good crop varieties. We have to go with the sustainable and innovative techniques of crop production. Though mechanization is zero, because mechanization of agriculture is not possible on the terrace and sloping terraces, but still we can invent some techniques and technologies which can be helpful in mountain farming system. So it has to be taken care of. Next is ensure capacity building. We have to increase the capacity of this rural communities through training programs, through time to time sensitization programs, and with the extension work from university, from different departments, government departments, either it's agriculture department, forest department, and other concerned and allied departments. Some capacity building programs should be given time to time, and innovative farmers must be trained so that they can adopt the new technologies, which is good enough to take care of the current needs. And the last, which I have already mentioned, that protecting indigenous knowledge will be great as they have values, and I have worked on that. And these knowledge systems are very valuable and very very capable of taking care of the climate change issues, right? In conclusion, we can see that impacts of climate change have been witnessed, and communities are well aware about this change, and they are also adopting at their own level, right? At their own level, they are adapting, and they're also making changes in their agriculture practices and their living. At the same time, they are also willing to adopt the new techniques, the new technology, new innovations. They are willing to learn, they are willing to adopt, so that their vulnerabilities can be lower down. And so we have to focus and some mountain-based research, some community-specific research with respect to climate change can be initiated, and the information and the outcomes can be shared with these communities, so that they can take care of our ecosystem, and they can take care of their own well-being. So this is all from my side. Thank you. Thank you, Nitika.
Thank you, Dr. Prabhuth, for coming up with such a wonderful presentation on community perception of climate change. It really fascinated us listening to you. Thank you once again, Dr. Prabhuth, for this amazing exposure of the topic. With this, may I now request our participants that we are open for interaction and discussion. Kindly avail this opportunity of interacting with the expert with us.
Yes.
Doctor,
do we have questions?
Yes, sir. I can see one hand raised by Jitendra Ranjan, sir.
Yes, please.
Mr. Jitendra Ranjan, sir, please unmute yourself. Jitendra, sir, if you're not able to unmute yourself, you can post your question in the chat box.
Yes.
Yes, sir, you have been unmuted, sir. Jitendra, sir. Sir, in the meanwhile, I can take some another hand raise, sir.
Yes, please.
Yes, sir. So the second hand raise is by DG Fondekar, sir.
Yes, madam. Thank you, madam, for considering my claim. Sir, you have mentioned that there were 6 to 7 events of rainfall that those villagers pursue.
Yes.
Over a season, there are only rainfall 6 to 7 times. Is it so?
No. What I mean to say that the rainy season in the study area of Sikkim is from June to September, right?
Yes, sir.
From June to September, we have numerous rainfall events. And among that numerous rainfall events, 6 to 7 rainfall events they have identified by different names, right? And that is traditionally identified by their ancestors. And they used to wait for those 6, 7 rainfall events, because that is associated that are linked with the agriculture calendar. You can say they relate that those rainfall events with their agriculture calendar, right?
Okay.
So now in this 6, 7 rainfall events, they are missing 1 or 2 or sometimes 3 they are missing. Like there's one rainfall event I remember, it's called Pite Pati, right?
Okay.
This is it used to rain for 6 to 7 days continuous rain, right? And after that they go for the showing of this paddy. Okay. Sometimes now they are missing it. This is only for 2 or 3 days. So that I wanted to show that I wanted to convey that they are missing their traditional rainfall system.
So that means their agricultural calendar is affecting.
Yes. Their livelihood, their agriculture calendar is affecting. At the same time, means if they're getting less water, the sponge action, or you can say the recharge of this springs are also getting affected. So it's not only the agriculture, the whole ecosystem is being affected by that.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you, DG Vandekar, sir. The next hand raise is by Suhas Kamble, sir.
What? Sorry, I could not hear.
Suhas Kamble, sir. He has raised his hand.
Yes, please.
Suhas, sir, would you like to ask a question? We could see a hand raised by you, sir.
Meanwhile, you can take another question if there is a question in chat box.
Sir, I cannot see any question in the chat box. If it has been directed to you, sir, please check your chat box once.
I cannot see any question.
Sir,
Yes.
I'm having another question, because once I was listening to your paper, I could retrieve the small research I have carried out along Western Ghat in early days. So that's why I'm asking that question, because when the rainfall regime get affected, that also influence on the cropping pattern.
Yes.
Have you ever noticed the change in cropping pattern or the type of crop? So earlier they may be cultivating some other crop that is a water thriving crop. Now they are cultivating water resistant crop. So
yes, I agree with your observation. And both, not only the rainfall, it has been impacted by temperature also. Now they are moving towards higher elevation. Sometimes for some crops they are going towards lower elevation. So it's with respect to temperature as well as rainfall. So as we say that agriculture is a function of soil and rainfall, soil and moisture. So if moisture is going to be affected, surely and certainly that agriculture is going to be affected. So cropping pattern, and we have identified cropping pattern at three ecological zones. Not only as a whole watershed, we have seen that the lower ecological zone have wider impacts, and upper ecological zones have lesser impact, because upper ecological zone have less area under agriculture, whereas the mid ecological zone and lower ecological zones have higher area under agriculture. So the impact is high and impact is visible. That has also been recorded for various crops, that which crops are getting affected in which manner. So.
And is there any impact on movement of people, particularly migration, rural-urban migration?
Yes.
It happens when the temperature increase and their productivity declines, the people may move in the search of survival elsewhere.
Yes, I agree with your statement. See, the production is declined, as I have shown in my graph. The production is declining, and if we compare it with the last 10 years, production has declined. So many of this farmers and indigenous communities, those who were involved in agricultural practices, they are now moving out for in search of other jobs. Like some have started going for driving, some have started migrating to neighboring West Bengal. Siliguri is a big city. For in search of job, they are started migrating from their original habitat, their original place. So that that conflict, and because of some conflict and because of some this changes in the landscape and changes in the rainfall pattern, agriculture pattern, people are now forced to move from that particular area. Though this issue is not very critical at right now, yes, but in years to come, this is going to be intensified and more impact is going to be visible. So we have to realize that this process has to be stopped here only. See, this climate change is a global concern. It is affecting each and every ecosystem, but the worst affected communities are the mountain communities, because they don't have the alternate system. So so we have to think about them, and we have to focus on the policies which can be started at local level, bottoms up approach, which is called bottoms up approach. We should think about the local areas. So we have to think globally, and we have to start locally. If local areas are not strengthened, we are not going to achieve the results, whether it's whether for sustainable development goals, whether for any global policy. So this is my submission, that we should also focus on the local communities, whether it's mountain communities or any, whether it's coastal communities. They have to be enriched with knowledge. They have to be educated about their ecosystem. There should be disaster literacy. There should be capacity building. And with all this package, we have to enrich them so that they can cultivate a better future for us. So that's my submission, sir.
Yes, sir. Sir, one more last question. Have you ever traced out, or whether the response is there from people, that the occurrence of forest fire, are there increase or stable? Because there may be possible temperature may induce the forest fire, that is for wood fire.
Yes, very true. We have identified few incidences where we have got the data that few are from man-made side, few are from natural side. So we are not able to verify that. People said during the interview that the influential people who are there in search of timber and to get to make profit, deliberately they go in the jungle and they do some illegal activity. And sometimes because of this thundering, lightning, and some other issues, there is natural forest fire also. So it has to be further verified that what is true, but fire incidences are there, and we are trying to map also with the help of remote sensing and GIS techniques.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Welcome. Is there any other question, Nitika ji?
Thank you, Dr. Prabhu and Fandekar, sir. Sir, I have posted the question in your chat box too. This question is by Dr. Sujay. He's asking, we have experienced floods in Kolhapur, probably due to extreme rainfall in less than 2 to 3 days. Though we predict rainfall as unexpected emergency, how farmers will convince strategy for crops? Their region is mostly sugarcane Crawford region, sir.
See, sugarcane is a crop which is we can say it's a water resistance crop, right? And in the flood prone areas also, it is advised that it should be given as sugarcane should be given as over other crops, because it can stay in water for a few days without any harm. So, but I think this Kolhapur is nearby. It's a part of this Vidarbha region, and where water scarcity problem is there. Lots of farmers are dying, and lots of farmers are committing suicide. So, and this concentration, he said that concentration of rainfall within 2-3 days. So such a situation is now very common. Earlier it was not there. Now it has identified throughout the country that maximum, the intensity, the torrential rainfall, the heavy downpour is taking in a very limited period of time. So it is a cause of concern, and we have to take actions at farmers have to be aware about the early warning system, that when what kind of information they are getting from the government machinery, so accordingly they can prepare their themselves for any such event.
Thank you, Dr. Prabhu. These were all the questions. And thank you very much once again for addressing the questions of the participants, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Welcome, welcome.
So, respected ladies and gentlemen, now we move towards the valediction session. Good afternoon, all of you. I feel privileged to deliver the course report on the successful completion of our 3-day online training program on climate change, urbanization, and multi-hazard management. We all hope you all had a wonderful exposure on all the 3 days. Day 1 helped us to check with the management of urban flooding by Dr. Harjeet Kaur, Junior Consultant NIDM, and early warning and communication by Dr. Raju Thapa, Junior Consultant NIDM. On day 2, we had 3 sessions. Dr. Purnima Jalihal, Scientist G, NIOT, held a session on the energy and water from the oceans for the mitigation of climate change impact. Ms. Vaishwani Shankar delivered a presentation on mainstreaming urban resilience across Indian cities, and Mr. Anil Kathar exposed us to the hazard and risks of climate change. Today, on the last day, we had sessions on climate adaptive action plans for Indian cities and community perception of climate change in the Himalayas by Ms. Shaw and Dr. Prabhu, respectively. We hope your questions were well addressed by our key speakers, and you all have a lot of takeaways from these 3 days of training. Before I request Professor Surya Prakash for the closing remarks, may I please request you all for the live feedback. I would request you to kindly raise your hands so that I can unmute you for the live feedback. Over to you, participants. Devanshu sir, you may please unmute yourself, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
So would you like to give the live feedback, sir, about the training program, sir?
Yes, ma'am. It was very well, and I have learned lots of things from here.
Okay, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Professor Saiful Ansari, sir. I can see your hand raised, sir. If you could please unmute yourself.
Yes, ma'am.
So would you like to give the live feedback, sir?
Yes, ma'am. I'm affluent this session, ma'am.
सर आप अगर हिंदी में देना चाहते हैं प्लीज सर हिंदी में बता दीजिए सर.
मैंने इस सेशन से बहुत कुछ सीखा है. मैंने बंगाल से हूँ. बांग्ला मुझे बहुत आता. बांग्ला मेरा मेन लैंग्वेज है, इसलिए हिंदी और इंग्लिश में बात करने से मुझे ठीक सही तरह से एक्सप्रेस नहीं कर सकता हूँ. अभी मैं इतना नहीं हूँ, लेकिन बहुत सीखा है, बहुत कुछ सीखा है. पहले दिन दो जो
Thank you so much, Professor Saiful, sir. It was wonderful, sir. The next hand raise is by Madam Shanika. Madam, you may please unmute yourself.
Good afternoon, all of you. I am from Sri Lanka. So I participated this program. Actually, this is a very good opportunity for me. I am postgraduate student, and also I study a lot of things about another country experiences. So finally, thank you very much, ma'am and sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Shamika ma'am. The next hand raise is by Mazuddin sir. Mazuddin sir, you're not audible. Please unmute yourself. Sir.
Good evening, ma'am. And
Yes,
good evening to all. I am audible, ma'am?
Yes, sir. You're very audible.
Okay. Ma'am, your entire session was very useful and highly informative. And though I was ADM Patna and looking after disaster management, even after being transferred from mainstream of disaster management, right now I am posted as Managing Director, Bihar State Minorities Financial Corporation, Government of Bihar. But still, I have got passion for disaster management, and I am still associated with Bihar State Disaster Management Authority. I am resource person at Bihar Institute of Public Administration and Rural Development. I take class of disaster management for BS and Bihar Police Service Officers and Bihar Cadre IS officers. So I simply congratulate you for conducting such a nice program, very informative programs, and I look forward for such online training programs in near futures. That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Dr. Prabhuth sir, you raised your hand, sir.
Yes, what I wanted to say that this programs organized by NIDM is not only facilitating the in Indian context, but it is also helping our neighboring countries. Like say Sanika, I have forwarded this details of this program event to my colleague who is there in Sri Lanka, and I have asked that you ask your participants to register, and see we have participants from Sri Lanka also. So we are not this NIDM and collaborating institute. They are not helping in only Indian context, but they are also helping our neighboring countries. So it is very good to see that they are also learning with our experiences, and they are also participating and broadening their knowledge base. And finally, it was a good session, and I could not participate in the previous days, but as far as today is concerned, the previous presentation was very good, and we have learned a lot. And thanks for organizing such a wonderful program. Thanks. Over to you.
Thank you so much for your lovely feedback, Dr. Prabhuth. It was really nice listening to you. Thank you very much, sir. Professor Surya Prakash, sir, if you could please hear me. I just wanted to take your permission. Actually, I could see many hand raises yet on the platform. If you allow me, I can unmute them, sir.
Yeah, Nitika, please take up questions.
Okay,
no
thank
issues.
you so much, sir. Thank you so much. So the next hand raise is by Dr. Sujay, sir.
Hello.
Dr. Sujay? Yes, sir. You're audible, sir.
Good afternoon, everybody. It was nice session by NIDM, and so hello.
Yes, sir. You're audible, sir. बीच में sir आपकी आवाज कट रही है, but अब अभी सुनाई दे रही है, sir.
So it was a wonderful session and arrangement. It includes various topics that early warning communications regarding urban flooding, regarding how the climate affects and urban resilience across Indian cities, along with the climate adaptation regarding Indian cities and agriculture aspects also. So includes all over the covers almost all topics regarding urban areas and also village areas, including agriculture. So it was a nice and wonderful session. I would like to congratulate all the team members and I'll look forward for more information and more training in future.
Thank you, Dr. Sujay, for such a keen participant, sir. The next hand raise is by Amar Singh Rathore, sir. Mr. Amar Singh, you may please unmute yourself. जी सर, you are audible, but आपकी आवाज थोड़ी कम है सर. मेरी आवाज है? हाँ जी सर, आ रही है सर. बहुत अच्छे से. मैडम, बहुत पिछले 1.5 साल से आपके NIDM से जुड़ा हुआ हूँ और NIDM के हाथ से जो भी डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट से जो भी प्रोसेस है, they are exemplary. और अभी जो 3 दिन का सेशन है, उसमें भी आपने जो प्रोजेक्ट और किसी प्रोजेक्ट के साथ सेशन एरिया में कराए हैं, और ये वास्तव वंडरफुल सेक्टर आपके जो है. मैं फॉर्मर चीफ वाटर सिविल डिफेंस इंजीनियर हूँ और मैं डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट से जुड़ा हुआ हूँ. मैंने सिविल डिफेंस में भी बहुत डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट के अभी कोर्सेज भी किए हुए हैं और NIDM से भी मैं काफी जुड़ा हुआ हूँ. हमारा जो जितने भी सेशन, हर सब्जेक्ट, हर टॉपिक ग्लोबल वार्मिंग के तहत जो आपदाएं और घटनाएं हमारे यहाँ घटित हो सकती है, उस पर फोकस करके जो ऑर्गेनाइज कराए हैं, वो वास्तव में काबिल तारीफ है और ये हमारी कम्युनिटी के लिए बहुत ही बढ़िया मैसेज है. और मैंने इसमें अपने सिविल डिफेंस के काफी वॉलंटियर्स को जोड़ा है कि आप इनको देखिए और काफी लोग से प्रेरित होकर आपके इस प्रोग्राम में सम्मिलित हुए हैं. अभी लेटेस्ट हमारे है नागौर के पुलिस सर, उन्होंने भी ज्वाइन किया. So you are organizing very wonderful. I congratulate you organizing such wonderful sessions and just for calling to the panelists from the all of India. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much, Amar Singh Rathore, sir. The next hand raise is by Mohammed Raza, sir.
Thank you for providing this opportunity. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're very audible.
Yeah, thank you for providing this opportunity. And I would look forward to attend more courses from NIDM. Actually, I'm from Andaman Nicobar Islands, which is highly prone to this disasters. So I would really like to congratulate NIDM for addressing the issues and holding all these courses. So, thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. The next hand raise is by Lakshman Deep, sir.
Hello, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible, sir.
So, ma'am, firstly, I want to thank the entire team for this wonderful session. And मैं यहाँ से बहुत कुछ information अभी gather किया. तो अब मैं मैंने अभी तो मैं एक 3rd year का स्टूडेंट हूँ कॉलेज में, तो मेरा इकोनॉमिक स्ट्रीम से है. तो आई होप कि ये जो मैंने इन्फॉर्मेशन यहाँ से गैदर किया, जो कुछ सीखा यहाँ से, तो इन फ्यूचर में इन्हें अप्लाई कर सकूँ जब मैं अपने जॉब के वक्त में हूँ, जब मैं सर्विस कर रहा हूँ, तो ये सब अप्लाई कर सकूँ. और मेरे कोर्स में भी एनवायरमेंटल इकोनॉमिक्स है, तो आई होप कि मैं ये सब चीज़ें कनेक्ट कर सकूँ एक साथ और कुछ अच्छा कर सकूँ सोसाइटी के लिए. तो शुक्रिया इतना सुंदर एक वंडरफुल सेशन के लिए.
Nitika, you are in mute mode.
Thank you so much, Professor Surya, sir. Okay, the next hand raise is by Pooja ma'am. Pooja ma'am, please unmute yourself.
Yeah. Am I audible, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
Good afternoon, ma'am. I'm Pooja and I'm postgraduate student. It was very informative and useful 3-day session. I engaged with all the speakers as the topic discussed are so linked to our day-to-day life. As I belong to Delhi, I can easily connect with the urban flooding, and I can say that the session was very explained and clear. And thank you so much, ma'am, for the fruitful and useful session.
Thank you so much, Pooja ma'am. The next hand raised is by Siddharth Gogoi, sir. So please unmute yourself, Siddharth. Sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir, you're audible.
May I audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Okay. Thanks for giving me the opportunity. Myself, Siddhartha Gogoi, and I have been working in District Disaster Management Authority, Tinsukia, Assam, and working as a field officer since last 2 years. The 3-day session is very fruitful and informative. Okay, and I have in future this type of session help the locals and the stakeholders to work in DM related issue more confidently. Once again, thanks to the entire team for conducting this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. With this, I would request the other participants, due to shortage of time, kindly write your feedback in the chat box. And thank you very much for such a lovely feedback. And now with this note, I would request Professor Surya Prakash, Head Geometeorological Risks Management Division, NIDM, for the closing remarks. Professor Surya, may I please have the courtesy to request you for the closing remarks? Professor Surya, the platform is yours.
Thank you, Nitika ji. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're very audible.
Okay, first of all, my heartfelt, sincere thanks to Director MGCPA, along with our Executive Director, Major General Manoj Kumar Bindal ji, Vashish Seva Medal, for allowing us this collaboration. It has always been a great pleasure to collaborate with MGCPA in our programs, and the kind of participation as well as resource persons who are involved, and the response that we get are very heartening. And we always have been happily collaborating with you in so many programs. And you are not only helping us disseminate this knowledge, information, ideas, innovations, and experiences, not only within our country, but even across the countries. And this is well demonstrated by this program as well. And these online programs, there are no borders, physical borders. So we are going transboundary, and also even sometimes getting international experts as well into our programs. This specific program, as I get from the feedback from our participants, was quite successful, and I could listen some of the question and answers from Dr. Prabodh Mishra. He's a good expert, and it was showing the interest of the participants. If questions are asked by the participant, that means it is heard, and they are inquisitive to acquire more knowledge and information in that particular field. And I also learned from the conversations had with the participants that many of them are highly responsible officials, and particularly those who are worked with or are working with our disaster management authorities, as well as with the relevant line departments. So we are very much thankful for all this. And before I conclude, because we talked about climate change, urbanization, development, and disaster management, a multi-dimensional and multi-perspective issues, which bring our attention to the emerging threats and the risks. Particularly when we are going to urban areas, the density of the population, density of the buildings, infrastructures, and the rate of developments are very rapid. And most of the developments are sometimes chaotic, and are not that well planned for futuristic scenarios. So that's one of the reasons that we face rising trends of disaster incidents, as well as their impacts, particularly in the urban areas. One of the issues which perhaps has not been talked during these 3 days is related to the pollution in these cities because of transportation and the current pandemic situation, which has made our lives difficult. I actually wrote a small poem at this when people were feeling very troublesome in terms of breathing problems during the pandemics. And the title of the poem is, I've written it in Hindi, इट स्टेट्स उधार की सांसें, उधार की सांसें। संक्रमण से सब तरफ हो रही हाहाकार, संक्रमण से सब तरफ हो रही हाहाकार, और सुनने लगी लोगों की चीख पुकार। बुखार, खांसी और दर्द की चित्कार, लगने लगी मानवता पर धिक्कार। प्रकृति की दी हवा और ऑक्सीजन भी पड़ गई कम, और घुटने लगा जीवन का दम। कोविड और फंगस का संगम बन गया लोगों के लिए गम निर्मम। संक्रमण से जो संभल नहीं पाया, संक्रमण से जो संभल नहीं पाया, या जिसने भी अपना हौसला गवाया, जीवन उसने दांव पर लगाया और फिर इससे उभर नहीं पाया। सब प्रयास पड़ गए कम, सब प्रयास पड़ गए कम, ऑक्सीजन और वेंटिलेटर भी हो गए खत्म। कोई भी संसाधन नहीं था सक्षम, वैक्सीन हो, दवाई हो या हॉस्पिटल में बेड, सब पड़ गए कम। सरकारों ने दी, चाहे केंद्र सरकार हो या राज्य सरकार, सरकारों ने दी अपनी पूरी ताकत झोंक, पर फिर भी नहीं पाए संक्रमण रोक। केस पर केस रहा संक्रमण ठोक, और जीवन होता गया लील बिना रोक टोक। आखिर नींद खुली और आया होश, डॉक्टरों और नर्सों में भरा गया जोश। प्राइम मिनिस्टर जी ने एक पब्लिक कैंपेन चालू किया था अक्टूबर 2020 में इसके लिए। मिलकर सब करने लगे प्रयास, मिलकर सब करने लगे प्रयास, ताकि इस संक्रमण का हो जाए नाश, ताकि इस संक्रमण का हो जाए नाश। जीवन की ये सांसें, जीवन की ये सांसें लगने लगी उधार, जीवन की ये सांसें लगने लगी उधार, अगर हमने बदला नहीं अपना व्यवहार, अगर हमने बदला नहीं अपना व्यवहार। संक्रमण की चेन तोड़कर, संक्रमण की चेन तोड़कर किया सबने मिलकर प्रहार, किया सबने मिलकर प्रहार। वैक्सीनेशन और लॉकडाउन किया बार बार। प्राकृतिक जीवन शैली और आयुर्वेद भी बना आधार, पेड़ पौधों से भी ली ऑक्सीजन हमने उधार। नाक, गले और फेफड़ों का रखा विशेष ध्यान, बढ़ाकर अपना प्राकृतिक ज्ञान। ऑक्सीजन कंसंट्रेटर और सिलेंडरों ने भी दिया अपना योगदान। उम्मीद बंधी और उधार की सांसों को मिला सम्मान। मतलब सब चीजों से इनसे वी कुड मेक पीपल सर्वाइव। इन उधार की सांसों से जिएंगे कितना और, इन उधार की सांसों से जिएंगे कितना और, अगर सही से नहीं संभाली जीवन की ये डोर, अगर सही से हमने नहीं संभाली जीवन की ये डोर। शिक्षा, शिक्षा, संतुलन, स्वच्छता, स्वच्छ व सुरक्षा पर होना चाहिए जोर। बदलो व्यवहार, अगर नहीं चाहिए उधार की सांसें और। प्रकृति ने दिए जीवन के साधन, संसाधन और साधन भरपूर, पर लालच में हमने प्रकृति को ही किया दूर। हम नेचर की हार्मोनी में नहीं रह रहे, नेचर के क्लोज नहीं रहते हैं। पेड़ पौधे लगाओ और प्राकृतिक संसाधनों का करो संरक्षण, पेड़ पौधे लगाओ और प्राकृतिक संसाधनों का करो संरक्षण। लो आज प्रदूषण, लो आज प्रदूषण व आपदाओं को दूर करने का प्रण, लो आज प्रदूषण व आपदाओं का दूर करने का प्रण। स्वच्छ हवा व ऑक्सीजन भी नहीं होगी कभी कम, स्वच्छ हवा व ऑक्सीजन भी नहीं होगी कभी कम। संक्रमण भी हो जाएगा नम, जीवन लगेगा सहज और सुलभ, अगर सुरक्षित होंगे जंगल, जमीन, जल, वायु व नभ। तो हमें जो है जितना भी डेवलपमेंट कर रहे हैं, सस्टेनेंस, एडेप्टेशन, रेजिलियंस, ये हमारे मेन क्राइटेरियाज हैं। इनका अगर हम ध्यान रखते हैं तो हमारी डेवलपमेंट्स लॉन्ग टर्म रहेंगी, सस्टेनेबल रहेंगी, ग्रोथ के बेनिफिट्स मिलेंगे। और अदरवाइज हमें बार बार आपदाओं का सामना करना पड़ेगा, बार बार नुकसान झेलना पड़ेगा, और इसको हमें बार बार अपने व्यवस्थाओं को कोसना पड़ता है कि हम नहीं कर पा रहे हैं। और ज्ञान काफी है, पर उसका सही इस्तेमाल सही समय पर सही जगह पर करने की हमें जरूरत है। ये प्रकृति का ही दिया ज्ञान है, जो मानव ने उसके साथ रहने से सीखा है। और प्रकृति कभी मानव के खिलाफ नहीं थी, क्योंकि उसी ने उसको जन्म दिया है, उसी ने उसको पाला है, पोसा है। तो अगर हम इसके खिलाफ नहीं जाते हैं तो हमारे को किसी तरह का कोई जोखिम या कोई नुकसान होने की संभावनाएं नहीं रहेंगी। तो बेसिकली इस 3 दिन के प्रशिक्षण कार्यक्रम में हमने वो सारे ज्ञान को साझा करने की कोशिश की है जो हमारे विशेषज्ञों के पास था, उनके अनुभवों से उन्होंने जो उत्सर्जित किया या बनाया या जो है प्राप्त किया और आपके साथ साझा किया। तो साझेदारी में और सहभागिता में ही हमारी समझदारी और सफलता है, इसी में हमारी सुरक्षा है और इसी के साथ मैं कहूँगा कि सबको जुड़ के चलने की जरूरत है और जो जुड़ के चलेंगे वो जरूर अपने जीवन को सुरक्षित, स्वस्थ व सफल बना पाएंगे। और यही हमारा ध्येय भी है कि सब सफल, सुरक्षित और स्वस्थ होंगे तो हम भी सब सुरक्षित और स्वस्थ रहेंगे और सफल रहेंगे। तो किसी ने कहा है कि मंजिलें उन्हीं को मिलती हैं जिनके कदमों में जान होती है, पंखों से कुछ नहीं होता यारों, हौसलों से उड़ान होती है। तो डोंट ऑलवेज आस्क फॉर रिसोर्स और लुक के ये कम है, ये कम है। नेगेटिविटी हम देखते हैं, पॉजिटिविटी भी हमें देखनी चाहिए और नो डाउट वीकनेसेस को दूर करें, स्ट्रेंथ्स को ऐड करें और सफलता की ओर अपना कदम अग्रसर करें। किसी शायर ने कहा कि मंजिलें उन्हीं को मिलती हैं जो सफर अख्तियार करते हैं, ऐसे मुसाफिर को तो यारों रास्ते भी इंतजार करते हैं। You started your journey towards risk reduction and resilience, and we have to achieve our goal as per national policy for a disaster-free and resilient nation. And our goal is not just restricted to confined to our political boundaries. We go across and we work for the whole world, and this is our mandate. And we look forward to all our ambassadors now who have joined this program to take it further down and around them. And this knowledge should not be kept to yourself, but should be shared and disseminated with others. Then only we can ensure the safety of one and all. So until unless every person, every citizen become aware, awakened and conscious regarding disaster risk reduction and resilience, our goal will not be achieved. तो ये हमारा ध्येय है और इसके साथ हम सब जुड़ेंगे और कोशिश करेंगे कि हम आपदाओं को दूर भगाएं और अपने जीवन को सुरक्षित बनाएं। इन्हीं शब्दों के साथ आप सबको मैं शुभकामनाएं देता हूं कि आपने हमारे साथ इसमें सहयोग किया, प्रतिभागी रहे और एक्सपर्ट्स ने अपना योगदान दिया और हमारे जो कोलैबोरेटर्स हैं, कर्नल दलबीर जी, नितिका जी, डायरेक्टर एमजी सीपा और दूसरे सभी लोग जो इस टीम में जुड़े हैं और हमारी टीम से मिस्टर अनिल कथाय, डॉक्टर हरजीत कौर और डॉक्टर राजू थापा and Dr. Amrit Haldar and Ms. Dipali as well as all others, जो IT टीम जिन्होंने भी सहयोग दिया होगा, सबका मैं धन्यवाद करना चाहूँगा. One and all, thank you very much and wish you all the best.
Nitika, can I come in?
Yeah, please continue, sir.
Professor Surya Prakash sir, thank you for speaking to the participants. We are grateful for the time and effort you took to share your thoughts and experience with us, sir. Sir, on behalf of the members of the organizers and MCPA and all the participants, I want to thank you for your insightful session and the thoughts we had shared with the participants, sir. So it was very interesting to hear about your personal experience. Your stories about your personal experience and other are very fascinating, sir. It will get pleasure for us to listen to you again in the future events. Thank you once again, sir. Over to Nitika for closing this remarks, please.
Thank you, Colonel Dalbir Singh. Thank you once again, Professor Surya Prakash, for your warm and kind words and your insightful and thought-provoking closing remarks. Now, on this occasion, it's my privilege to accord a vote of thanks. I, on behalf of MCPA family, extend a very hearty vote of thanks to Madam Jaspreet Talwar, Director General MCPA, and General Manoj Kumar Bindal, Director, National Institute of Disaster Management, who have patronized this training program. We are highly grateful to National Institute of Disaster Management for their invaluable support. We express gratitude to Shri Sibinsi, Director MCPA, for lifting our spirits high and showering his blessings for organizing this program. A special thanks to Professor Surya Prakash and his NIDM team and Colonel Dalbir Singh, General Manager Training MCPA, for bringing us all together, for sharing and gaining through this platform. And we highly appreciate the efforts of our technical team and other staff members for the smooth conduct of the online training program. A special thanks to our key speakers, Dr. Purnima Jalihal, Ms. Vaishwani Shankar, Ms. Mamata Shah, Dr. Prabhut Kumar Mishra, Dr. Raju Thapa, Dr. Harjeet Kaur, and Mr. Anil Kadar for making the training informative and intellectual with their vast knowledge and years of experience in the field. Last but not the least, cheers to our participants who have taken time from their busy personal and professional schedules to be a part of this training. We are highly grateful to our participants for showing their keen interest and encouraging us throughout the training program. Thank you all. Thank you once again. Have a nice day. Anil sir, I would request you to kindly guide the participants regarding the feedback form and the certificate, sir. Anil sir, may I please request you to intervene?
Okay. It is requested to participant for feedback will be available in the NIDM training portal where you have enrolled for our program. So you can share your feedback there. And for certificate, please, it is requested to you all to kindly wait for a couple of days for for your e-certificate. It will take some time to generate. And e-certificate will be also available in the NIDM training portal itself.
Thank you, Mr. Anil. Thank you very much for your support and coordination, sir.
Thank you, Nitika.
Thanks to all the participants once again. Thank you all.